meeting of the City Council is called to order. The time is 5 p.m. Before we begin, council, put away cell phones. If you have personal business to attend to during the meeting, please move for a recess. As a reminder to all attendees, this meeting is being streamed live. The camera is located directly above the clock in the back of the council chambers. Madam Deputy Clerk, please call the roll.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Cottle?
Here.
Councilmember Graham is absent and excused unless there's objection from the body. Councilmember Johnson?
Here.
Councilmember Crafton?
Here.
Councilmember Vlock?
Here.
Councilmember Rubio?
Here.
You do have a quorum, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. And Chief, would you lead us, please?
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The first item of business is approval of the agenda. Are there changes to the agenda? Hearing none, the agenda is approved as presented. We are now to public participation. Persons to be heard, a time for members of the public to share their views with the council. This is not a question and answer period or a time for dialogue. Speakers may be referred to administration, or issues raised may be taken under advisement by the council or administration. We have no one on the sign-up sheet.
I didn't realize I had to sign in.
Okay,
Can I
please.
sign in?
No. Please come, state your name, have a seat, state your name, your first and last name, and if you are a city resident, and you're limited to 3 minutes.
My name is Contoria Wise, and I am just recently back to Wasilla. I grew up here. I didn't get a chance to look at the budget or the proposal or anything. I just kind of walked in and found out there was a meeting. But there is a dire need in this community for somewhere for the homeless people to go. There is resources available, but they are not easily accessed as one would think. And is the paperwork there which shows where, do we have any kind of budget push towards that direction? A shelter? How many people did we lose to the cold weather this winter, this last winter? I know the one day that I was in the hospital, I saw at least 4 people with hypothermia. They had to lose their limbs. So I would like to know what this city is doing about that, or what I can do to get something started.
This is not a question and answer period, it's just a time for you to talk.
Okay, well, that's all I really have to say. Is there anything, where would I get an answer for what is going on for the homeless population, which has been increasing every day since COVID? Where could I get an answer to that?
Go over to Matcom Health Foundation over on Cruzy Street.
Okay, is there any part in the budget that just was approved? I didn't get a
No.
chance. That's
Because that's not
unfortunate
our-
and shameful.
That's not our place to do.
Okay, where would I go to do that then?
You will go over to Matcom Health Foundation.
Matcom Health Foundation? Thank you for your time.
Seeing no one else, I will close persons to be heard. There is no unfinished business, so we'll move directly to new business.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is the fiscal year 2025 departmental budget presentations. This is a committee of the whole. Ordinance serial number 2424, providing for the adoption of the annual budget for fiscal year 2025 and appropriating funds to carry out said budget.
Thank you. I need a motion to go into the committee of the whole.
Mayor, I move, or I make a motion that we move into committee of the whole.
Rubio seconds.
It's been made by Councilmember Crafton and seconded by Councilmember Rubio. And so we are in committee of the whole at 5 for the purpose of discussing the budget. So at 5:05. And the first one, everybody got a budget sheet. Administration. Okay, where is? Okay, the first one is administration, and in your budget book, it is page 51. Okay, we are going to go through, and the first is personnel services. Any questions? Professional services.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
so both the first two items were 18% increase. That's basically due to wage scale improvement.
Absolutely.
And as well as inflation. Is that how we came to that?
That's what you're gonna see in your personnel services, is the wage increase and inflation. And that'll be across the board.
Right. So we're not adding any staff within that budget, is that correct? I don't see it on page 48, so that was my assumption.
Well, in administration, there's only two of us.
Yes.
That's just me and Lisa, so this includes both of us.
Thank you.
Okay, purchase property. Other purchase services.
Madam Mayor,
Uh-huh.
under communications, we had almost 18% savings. Normally, communications is something that goes up. Is there something that we aren't purchasing anymore? Do you know where we're saving?
This is due to the new phone system that we are currently implementing due to the fact that it is Teams and VoIP over IP. There's no longer long distance charges that will be within any of these. There are a couple departments that will still remain, like the police department and Matcom, due to the reasoning behind those. But the rest of the departments do not, they no longer need long distance charges that we currently are in this current fiscal year having due to that changeover.
Okay. Supplies. Vehicle fund. Technology replacement. Okay, is there any questions for administration? Okay. We are moving on, page 56. Is general administrative services. Personnel services. Professional services. Purchase property. Other purchase services?
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
First question I had, I believe this is Crystal's, and I know she's out of town right now, was advertising, was the big, pretty significant change in advertising there. Do we have an explanation, like what new advertising we're looking at? Avenues and kind of what they're for?
It's from what I understand. It was due to the citywide promotions for the spring and fall economic summit. There's about a $5,000 increase for that. And then we are also having an increase in digital advertising along with some marketing materials for priorities, for legislative priorities, I believe. They're making like a trifolder instead of a single sheet, I think, or something along those lines.
And also, Cassie, is that where she put that for chamber? I think that's where it went.
I think you're right, yes.
Is that where it went?
Some of it is up in professional services up there for the,
Okay.
you'll see GWCC community events. But I believe there's also city logo items and marketing for those events also down in the advertising part of that also.
There is, and there's also 2 weekly mayor's minutes in that.
And
That's her budget, not
their
mine.
prices have gone up too, their contract went up.
Yeah,
Were we only doing 1 weekly minute, but prior to
No.
that, it's always been 2?
Yeah.
They're just prices gone up, okay.
yeah. Okay,
Madam Mayor?
yes.
So dues and subscriptions, in 2023, we had $329, then it went up to $4,000 in the adopted budget, of which we spent $1,350, and now we're asking for 47 or 4,400, whatever. So it looks like we're a wave here. What's going on with is it that we're not very good at?
Oh.
Could we have an explanation there?
Is that, we got Alaska Municipal League, we've got, AMMA, and the chamber, that's where she put the chamber, in constant contact.
So I mean, last year we budgeted 41, but only spent 1350, or at least we amended that to that. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Is that right?
So did we actually spend 1350, or did we spend closer to the 4100?
41.
Well, the current year, we haven't finished out, so that's just currently the budget. I'd have to look in the system to find out what we're
Okay.
currently expensed out of that
Yeah.
account, but, I'm wondering if we didn't move the dues and fees into a different area, into professional services up more, but I don't know for sure, because that's about the 4,100. I wonder if that's what
Okay.
she had done. I don't honestly,
I mean, it's not that big a deal, but it just looked to me weird where you had 41, 13, 44, you're going, you know, it looks like a wave in an ocean. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Sorry. We are on to supplies. Technology replacement. Any questions on, general administrative services?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
going back up to technology replacement real quick, and I think
Yeah.
I saw this on quite a few of them this year. And I guess just jump in front of it here, could you give some explanation as to what we're gonna see with the technology replacement throughout the year? Or, cause there was a lot of them that were pretty significantly higher this year.
so last year's budget, the actual transfer that went into, the technology replacement fund was, cut in half. It's roughly normally about a $208,000, $220,000 transfer that goes into the technology replacement fund. This year currently, what was chosen to do this year in regards to the transfer was if there were expenses that needed to come out of the technology replacement fund, we were using fund balance because there was money left over in there for that purpose. And so in order to replenish that, we're basically gearing up to have enough funding for replacements of, we currently have quite a few desktops within all of our departments. And with the new enterprise resource planning of the new software, some of our computers will not run that program possibly. And so we're looking into upgrading some of these in order to operate that software that we're gonna need.
Okay, any questions on general administrative services? We're moving on to human resource, page 61. Council, let's try this, because you guys have had this budget, this line item and whatever. And if we go to human resource, does anybody have any questions on any of the human resource?
Madam,
Yes.
Madam Mayor, what about the advertising? Looks like it went up a lot. Is that, why are we doing something different with advertising this year with, the proposed budget's 30,000. Last year amended budget was only 1,000. So we must be doing something different there.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor and City Council. I'm Kimberly Green, the Human Resources Management. The number that you see in the advertising was a data entry error. It actually belongs in legal services. We anticipated significant legal services this year for the rewrite of Title III as well as our policies and procedures. Cassie has made that adjustment, but it did not make it in time for it to come out in your materials.
Madam Mayor,
Ian?
could I ask what that adjustment would be? Because I see we have 25,000 for legal this year. Is that accurate? And then it's supposed to probably only be 1,000 again for advertising?
That's what we're anticipating is 1,000 for the advertising. The 25,000 you currently see marked for legal is just anticipation of the day-to-day items. The additional monies that we're putting towards legal is for the Title III rewrite and the policy and procedure changes.
Thank you.
We also have negotiations with WPDA next year too, so that was the other part of that too.
Okay, any other questions on human resource?
So just one point of clarification then, our advertising budget was staying the same at 1,000, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then we're moving the 30,000 basically up to the legal line item, which is proposed 25,000, is that staying that, or are we going to 55,000?
No, it's
No.
25.
It's
Okay,
25
so that
now.
thousand, that 30,000 then is going
It's just
away,
a-
basically.
It's a, yes.
Yeah, okay, so I'm
Yeah.
gonna put a line item through that, put 1,000 there.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The 29,000 that's left over in the advertising is going to get added to the legal budget.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah, and it'll be a foot, yeah.
So it's gonna be added to the 25,000 in legal?
Yes, sir.
So we're gonna end up with
50.
54,000 in legal?
Yes, sir. Between the regular day-to-day issues that we counsel with legal on, as well as the upcoming negotiations for WPDA, the Title III rewrites and the policy and procedure, we anticipate utilizing the majority of that money.
Wow.
It's a big change.
And to me, that just almost doesn't seem reasonable, because I don't see that we've negotiated these contracts before, so why are we going to spend almost a quarter of a year in legal fees?
We have currently several items that legal is working with us on. And then the Title III rewrite in and of itself will probably take, depending on what the length of it comes out to be in the policies and procedures, I would anticipate that would be a significant amount of that. Title III has not been rewritten in quite some time, so getting it updated with current federal and state policies and regulations is gonna be important.
So if you could give me a quick briefing then as to what Title III is? I'm not
Title III is
familiar.
our personnel code, our quote-unquote employee handbook. And then we have another attachment called our policies and procedures, and that has a lot of things like discrimination, ADA, salary structure, merit increases, and that's being rewritten as well.
So will Title III then come back to us as the council in a new ordinance then? Huh?
Yes, sir.
because the whole code book has not been updated in years. And so we started with Title 16, now we're going to Title 3, we'll eventually get to Title 29. So, because it's time.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I know in years past, we've gotten a brief summary of previous year's accomplishments, as well as just an explanation of, hey, here are some things we want to do going forward with our budget. Would you be able to provide us a brief summary of that?
She's got, it's on page 60.
I understand that. In years past, we've always had them briefly summarize it, just in their own words, some of the things that they want to do.
Well, she ain't been here that long. Think about it.
I know you're working for the next coming year, so I assume there's some things that you're looking to do here. Obviously, the Title III is one of them. Could we hear some other things that you're looking to do?
Absolutely. So this year, we're really focusing on ensuring that we're delivering a high-quality HR service to our customers, which are the employees, as well as trying to communicate with the community. So in addition to the number of employee events that we're doing, we're setting up additional employee surveys, we're setting up site visits. Previously, we were waiting for employees to come to us if they had a question. Now HR is going out to each individual department once a month to make sure that we're there and available for them. Looking through the ERP system and what we're currently developing, whether we're going to go with one system or another, we may have utilizing our current NeoGov, add additional modules to that, the performance management section, the HRIS section, the onboarding section. So that's going to be another improvement. It's going to bring that technology forward. We have some additional things that we've done, and excuse me for a second, I got to look at my notes here. Working on employee appreciation, the job fairs. We just launched our suggestion box, so it's an anonymous suggestion box that will allow employees to bring up anything of comment or concern, or even an attaboy that they want to share with somebody. We are restructuring the infrastructure of the HR department. The way right now it's set up isn't currently conducive to optimization of what we're doing. We're touching a piece of paper more than one time. So we're going through that, looking at that, and trying to minimize that as well. I know Jonna has done a great deal of things. I'm sorry she's not here, so she can't elaborate on those, but that's the information that I have for my 2 weeks so far.
Okay, any other questions on human resource? Thank you, Kim.
You're welcome. Ma'am.
Okay, moving on, we're going to planning. It's on page 65. Any questions on planning?
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
First one I had was under professional services. We have marketing to implement Title 16. I believe also this is Crystal's.
Yes.
She's not here. Do we have much of a, hey, this is what our plan to do is to, around what we're doing to market for Title 16 implementation? Or are we gonna have to wait for Crystal to come back?
Madam Mayor, Cindy hasn't.
Cindy's here.
Oh, perfect.
Thank you. Through the mayor, Councilmember Crafton. So you asked about the advertising, and what this is for the Title 16. A lot of what we're trying to do is to get the word out and to increase the existing, how do I put this? The existing goodwill that we have with the people, as well as to show the changes that are coming. Right now, when we are sending something to a person who calls on the phone about existing code, it was just, here's the code, let's move forward, but that doesn't work. And so we've been implementing changes, and we anticipate with those changes, just a real good public outreach to say, this is a streamlined, this is what you're looking at, so that everybody knows exactly what it is.
Any other questions on planning? Okay, we are moving on to finance, and it's on page 70. Okay, any questions on finance?
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Under professional services other, we have a drop in 12.5% there. What are we doing, where are we capturing some savings there?
We are currently capturing savings in our bank services, actually, due to our current amount of funding that we have within our bank, different banking accounts that we have. We currently have fees that have been adjusted down, and due to the nature of that, we're currently capturing quite a few savings in regards to that. And we don't anticipate that changing in the near future.
Okay,
One other question, if I may?
okay.
Yep. Jumping down to general supplies, and I think I saw this one, not every department, but a lot of them had office supplies, chairs and desks, a pretty significant increase. Are we seeing a lot of our desks, chairs that are just, it's time? Okay.
Yes, that's correct. In regards to the finance department, we actually have the majority of our staff currently have standing desk, and so there are 2 individuals that are the last ones to get it, and that's the majority of what that 10,000 is for. And then we're kind of piecemealing a chair a year kind of for people that need it in regards to ergonomic and kind of keeping people upright. So, so yeah, the majority of that is for desk. We're just going through it's time kind of thing from everyone has told me. It's been quite a few years since they've received anything new in regards to that.
Any other questions for finance? Okay, we're moving on to information technology, page 75. Any questions on information technology?
Madam Mayor?
Ian?
We have an 18% increase in communications here. I mean, there's only 2 items in here. One is, I assume it's postmaster. Do we know? Oh, here he comes.
Good evening. I think in reference to communications, we signed quite a few new 3-year contracts with MTA recently. And obviously they were more expensive than the contracts we signed with them years previously under the communications one.
I'm on the wrong page, thank you. Okay, there we go, thank you.
Madam Mayor?
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. Line item 1, regular staffing, costs went up 80,000 to, which accounts to a 34% increase. I was sort of expecting 18 or something like that. So what happened?
Multiple
I
staff.
mean, we're not adding people.
Which one?
They cut their overtime.
Are you talking about the regular?
Yes,
And
on
that
page
is,
75.
right. That is, again, wage increases, and he has an employee. There's another guy that works with him under information technology, and it is the wage increase and inflation.
Oh, I see. So there actually was, in 2023, an added staff. And that's what's accounting for that? Is that it?
Yes,
On
and then
page
the other,
71?
the other part of this is that due to the fact that IT doesn't currently have that third person. We have switched the current year some personnel costs down into non-personnel in order to cover through contracts of services that are needed for certain items that we are needing to cover in regards to that, since we don't have that third person. So the amended 2024 budget has gone down due to that reason. And so what I have done is shifted that non-personnel back up into personnel for the 3 positions that are there, hoping to continue that, and then non-personnel has gone down due to that reason. So it looks like a significant increase, but it's also because we have been shifting funds to cover that, for that third person vacancy that's been going on for, I believe, a few years,
Okay.
as I understand it.
Hang on, I just want to make some notes here.
Okay. Any other questions on information technology? Hearing none, we are going to public safety.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Administration is on page 83. Any questions about administration on public safety?
Madam Mayor, we have a pretty significant increase to some repairs and maintenance. Chief, would you mind just running us down what some of those repairs are?
Yeah, absolutely. Over the course of the winter, we had our big garage doors, they're 14-footers, big 14-foot doors for our bay to go into our garage. One side of the spring broke. The springs that span across to open up those garage doors are too long. And so the idea is that we're going to shorten the 2 large springs that bring up the door. We're going to shorten those up to 4, 2 on each side, to reduce the stress that's on the door. I snapped one, and it was about a $4,000 repair. The other side of the garage is flexing so bad that I'm anticipating that it's going to break here shortly. So it's just replacing the springs in the door to be more less stress on the big large springs that it has there. And that's a rough estimate of about $10,000 to replace that through the garage door specialist.
Oh, and then the other 8,000 is just other miscellaneous
Just
repairs.
miscellaneous generator flush. We have a fire alarm, and then the vehicle that I have.
Eric?
I'll tag on with the chief. Property supports the chief, and repairs at the police station are through his budget. And so the building is new, but it's not brand new. And so there's going to be more maintenance as we keep it nice and in great shape. We've got some of the siding panels were damaged. We've got to replace those. There's just, it's starting to need more and more care as it gets 5-6 years old. So.
Okay. Any
Madam
other?
Mayor, just 2 lines, if you could just elaborate on a little bit. There's a significant increase in advertising and in dues and subscriptions.
So the advertising, our budget from last year was $500. I'm really big on community engagement projects with Coffee with a Cop, National Night Out. We do stuff out the elementary school for the kids, and a lot of that is kind of like, for lack of a better word, marketing material. It's swag for kids. It's stickers, tattoos. Not the permanent ones, of course, but it's just little fun stuff that we hand out with our SROs to the kids and through the booth that we do at the state fair. Teach education, and we try to supplement a lot of that cost with other partners that we have. Grants cover a lot of that, but just some of the stuff that it isn't, we like to cover that and provide that for the patrol officers to hand out on scene and when they're out there talking to the public.
Okay, and then dues and subscriptions?
This year I did a quite a big overhaul on our technology. It has been neglected over the course of the years. We are currently, in the years past, Matcom has absorbed our costs for our Central Square, which is our RMS system. That's about a $20,000 a year program. This year, it's our responsibility, and that's why I budgeted in to moving forward for our records request. I have also moved on to Vector Solution, which is an asset management that does all of our firearms, all of our vehicles, all of our equipment that we have assigned out to the officers for management of that. We went with a Vector Solution scheduling program, which is more user-friendly for mandatory shifts. Officers can sign up for overtime from the comfort of their home, other than the current process that we have right now is they have to go to the police department to sign up on a whiteboard. When overtime opportunities come out, they would get an automatic callback, so reduces the administration time of going through a list of seniority list to call officers out. I have implemented a large revision on our policy. We have a Power DMS as a digital policy where it's easier to track. Currently, we have some different versions of policy that is out in our department right now that hasn't been revised since 2014, so that's been a long process. And I started it last fiscal period, and we're still continuing into this fiscal period. But really it's gonna streamline, more of, the national standard for my ultimate goal to be nationally accredited, for, policies and procedures. And so we're kind of slowly working along those, and, getting to be the standard practice of what other departments in the nation are doing.
Thank you.
Any other questions on public safety administration? Hearing none, we'll move on to the multitask drug enforcement on page 84. Any questions? Hearing none, we will go on to general investigation, on page 85. Any questions?
Madam Mayor, we seem to have a large increase in repair and maintenance. Is this still associated with the garage door, or is this just cars, or?
A large portion of that is just gonna be the 3 vehicles that we have. For a long time, we only had 2 investigators in there. I currently only have 2 in there right now. But it's still gonna be some of the maintenance involved in their wing, and then, the repair for 3 vehicles.
Okay.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Travel and staff development, what type of training are we looking to give these officers?
So with, I'm anticipating that one of my detectives now is brand new, so I'm anticipating some, initial, general investigation type courses, basic homicide, basic investigation, major crime, major sexual assault, just, building up that foundation. And then I will have to promote another investigator this time, when we get numbers back up, so it'd be almost a double on getting specialized training for those 2 investigators or detectives now to, move forward.
Okay, any other questions? Hearing none, we're moving on to patrol, page 86. Any questions?
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Professional services other, we're seeing a $6,000 increase, about 30% there. What is this looking to cover? I see one of them says impound on there. Is this just the towing of vehicles and everything?
I am trying to find it. Yeah, I don't have the notes on that. I know that our impound fees through MTR have gone up. And what, Cassie, if you wanna refresh me on what are some of the other line items that cover underneath? I don't think I printed that one out.
I think it has to do with the testing, if I remember
Yes,
correctly.
that is correct. Yes, it's just with the applications that I have right now, the testing material for both, new officer and sergeants, which I'm required by CBA. Increasing for, this year.
Okay, any other questions on patrol?
Madam Mayor? Repairs and maintenance. I know it's coming up a couple times here. Part of it was we had gotten we have our own garage now. So is that where some of these repairs fall into? Is it's just getting more parts, or are we seeing more deterioration on our vehicles? Because I know the intention was to have our own garage, so we're seeing some savings in here.
We have seen substantial savings with our own mechanic there, however, we still have vehicle issues. Just for example, we have ordered, on the last fiscal period, we had put in for 3 allocations of Tahoes, we were only allotted for 2. The vehicles are continue to be a unique situation. Ordering windows have been usually open for months, now they're open for 2 weeks. And you need to get on top of it, and just because we do put an order in, regardless of whatever make model it is, you're not guaranteed anything. Again, we put in for 3, we were only allocated for 2. There was maybe a little bit of a window that we may get a 3rd, it's not happening. So, you know, everybody's fighting for the limited number of vehicles, they're making it harder to purchase, and of course they have skyrocketed in the last year and a half on price. It's not specific to Alaska, it's what I'm seeing nationally. I want to get creative and seeing if there are some other options outside of Alaska that how we can get this, and look at different options of maybe getting it barged, but that's going to take a lot of you know, research and the ability to see if they're going to honor different contracts and other things, and I'm not even going to go down to the rabbit hole with that. But as for the mechanic, we've been able to steer his maintenance skills more towards the Chevy Tahoes, just because that's the majority of the fleet right now, which has been a reduction of repair and maintenance. Some of that is unknowns. We do have a large number of Explorers that are high miles, and you know, we had one that had $12,000 in damage, and it's just not worth it to repair with 110,000 miles on it.
I can also, the other part of this is that in order for us to, if there is a accident of any kind, the WPDs has to have the repairs done before insurance reimburses us. So that is the other part of that, is so we have enough repair in there to cover any kind of cost that we need to get repaired. And then when we get the check back in, we put it back into this account. So it's kind of a flow through that we have to do, but that's part of our insurance claim process. If there's any kind of accident with that, we do the repairs and then the check comes back through. So we allow enough budget authority in there for that also.
Okay. Kathy?
Oh,
Canine expense. On your line item, it says adding canine, vet bills if possible grant funded. So are you looking at adding another canine?
Yes, ma'am. I am, our current dog, Echo, is, I believe she's 7 years old. In a perfect world, I'd love to get another 3 years out of her, but realistically, I'm probably looking at another year and a half. As it's a specialty with a canine and a handler, it's nothing that happens overnight. And with our current program that we have right now, Officer Buzzard and our canine Echo have a fantastic team. He's an excellent trainer, excellent canine handler, and I want to be able to capitalize on his training and experience to help the new handler transition into when the time that Echo retires. And so there's a seamless transition that she's or the next dog and the handler are up and running when Echo decides to retire. That dog currently that we're purchasing is being 100% funded through the opioid settlement, and we're anticipating to send him to a 10-week certification course for canine come this September.
So you're looking at, with the opioid settlement, with your grant funding, pretty much covering all the costs of that eventually?
I have enough to cover right now. Then there's a lot of canine funding that will be covered under that. It's just unfortunately, I'm not sure when. There's not a set date of when that comes in. I think by the time of 2038 is when it's supposed to be all given out, and they don't really give you I don't know what's coming in from month to month, to year to year.
We just got 2 payments in actually.
Nothing's ever done quickly. I realize.
We just got notice today, actually today and yesterday, that we're getting 2 more checks for the opioids. So they just come in randomly, and so like this amount was around $10,000 for the city of Wasilla. So they vary in amount, and there's a huge formula that it runs through. So and we never know when they're coming. They just all of a sudden show up from the state of Alaska and deposit into our account. So
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions about patrol?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
ammunition, so I,
They have to have that.
well, I know, what I think is funny is he says increase in ammo here, and then I see a reduction in the budget for it, so I see it's one of those ones that are really up and down, 2022, we were spending 14, then we had 43, 35, so, I mean, I know it's one of those things that's all over, it's really hard to estimate, but is this one of those ones a little bit more would be better for you, or?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm not gonna turn around that. What we're finding out is that the wave of up and down is that during COVID, it was very hard to get ammo. It still is hard. We have looked at different distributors, different freight costs. We also threw in there, I think some of that you're seeing too is the initial ammo, I think we're pretty good on. We found a good distributor. But a lot of that is that I wanna add on non-lethal, and that's where a lot of that stuff is pepper ball. Increase on that, and you'll see that I'm looking to bring in 3 additional 40 millimeter non-lethal, and that will cover some of the added expenses to have the proper ammunition for that.
So do you think 30,000 will be enough this year, when last year it looks like we were at least at 35?
I think that last year, since we've had an outstanding PO that some got encumbered from the previous fiscal years, and we haven't received delivery, where I actually just had to just cancel it because it was ordered. I started in June of 2022. The PO was for 2022, and I've yet to see that yet. So obviously, it's pretty clear to me that it's not going to happen. So I'm just canceling it out, and then we found a new distributor that can get it here within 4 weeks. You're paying, a little bit more per box, but it's just the availability that they can get it here pretty quickly and when I need it, so.
Okay, any other questions? All right, we are moving on to school resource officers, page 87. Any questions? Hearing none, we'll go to WPD Garage, page 88.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
the amended budget for 2024 in the garage was 38,000, and this year it's 3 for repair and maintenance. Doesn't look right.
Don't have any notes on that one. I'm looking it up and nice typo.
You got one? Uh-oh.
$38,000 right now in the budget for this year.
I had to add something.
The line item explanation is building maintenance.
We're all looking at each other. There was some project last year.
If it's not carrying over, whatever the project was that we can't wrap our heads around at the moment isn't being carried over through this next fiscal year.
I did put that lift in there, but I don't think that.
No, it's down there.
It's in a different spot. So I'm thinking what repair.
It's in the equipment.
Just thinking I believe my memory, I'm going off of memory and don't, that's it's questionable. I believe that previous finance director put some money from the patrol repair and maintenance into that, depending on how we were going to bill bill out repair and maintenance to different patrol vehicles. That was billed either underneath the shop or underneath the specific division of admin, patrol. And I think it was from patrol, is that we were billing it underneath shop and it was pulled from patrol. I even remember that it was how it was coded for preventative maintenance and getting the new position established.
Okay.
Yeah, Madam Mayor, so is what that happens is when you subtract out that 30 whatever thousand, that means that you drop your total budget, and that's what you intended to do by a substantial amount?
Mechanic's looking pretty good. I increased it in other areas to reduce then the amount of time that he is spending. For example, on you'll see an increase for small tools and equipment. Or different strategy with that is that we're currently right now he's spending a month and a half to just take tires off of vehicles. Every time, then twice a year, he's spending a month and a half. That's 3 months out of the course of the year just doing tire changeover. That's not including any preventative maintenance, and that's not including coming across issues when he does those repairs. What I'd like to do is it goes from about 2 hours per vehicle, and that's if in a perfect world. And if I end up investing into getting tires put on rims, it changes it from 2 hours down to 20 minutes, and that he can concentrate more on the preventative maintenance to get that car out of the shop and on the road and back in service again. So you'll see a reduction in some areas, but I did increase, for example, just to slowly start working to get every vehicle on separate rims, just to reduce the amount of personnel time that he's spending on the vehicle for 3 months out of the year.
So you're increasing the materials for the rims then in which area in the budget here?
That would be underneath the small tools and equipment, supplies.
But that went down.
I'm sorry, what's that?
But that went down.
And that could have been just because we've been spending time on getting a lift in there, getting a tire changeover. We finally got a AC flush. We've been slowly working on transmission flushes, slowly getting these larger items purchased throughout the course of the year. And we're looking pretty good there to get him a fully functional garage.
Okay. Not spending as much money.
Any other questions for WPD Garage?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
just a little bit around the temporary and overtime here. So it looks like in the past, he was doing quite a bit of overtime there, and now you're moving it to temporary time, or roughly about the same there. What's
So,
the thought
yeah.
around that?
Yeah, the idea is that if needed, we'll be able to use the temp if we come in there where our mechanic is highly skilled. And if he comes across where he's got a very, large project that he needs to work on, for example, unfortunately, we had a Tahoe that was totaled out. When we're deciding what we wanna do with it, he says, well, let's keep it down at the yard, because if I need to pull that motor out of it, I can. This is the skill set that he has with transmissions. This is anticipation that he has a large build or a large fix that he has to do, the preventative maintenance and other little small things that still needs to happen. And that's bringing on a temporary employee to help with that preventative maintenance of oil changes, brakes, changing out a flat tire or changing a tire over, or whatever the case may be. And it's there if I do need it, that it doesn't back him up even longer and putting the cars out of service even longer. So that's kind of the anticipation behind that.
Follow-up question, that
Yes.
So right now, you don't think we're needing another mechanic in the garage? Is it something you're seeing in the future? We're gonna eventually, do you have a projection as to how long you think that might be when the fleet's large enough that it needs a second one?
I think we're getting there pretty close. I think, I'd love to, you'll see some things through the CIP about some things that I'd like to do with the PD, which is in line with, building on that garage. I think what the city is getting to the point where it would probably be best to start looking at that possibility to invest into a full-time mechanic. I'd love to keep mine. I still wanna keep mine. I'm not willing to give them up. You know, but we're getting to that point where, very quickly, we were, you know, even adding a couple more bays on top of that, and having a couple more, there's enough in there, and he's doing a fantastic job, but we're getting to that point where we need to start thinking about it.
Okay. Any other questions on WPD Garage? Hearing none, we're gonna move on to code compliance on page 97.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
this is, I'm sure, just a little clerical thing under other. There's been no changes, but you've got the difference between 25 and 24 at 100% instead of 0%.
What page are you on, Kathy?
97.
97. Okay.
Just one of those little tiny things.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
contractual services, I'm just making sure I got the right one now. Snow removal is what I'm looking at here. Wait. Oh, 301, that's why.
Snow removal?
Yeah, never mind. Thank you.
Any other questions on code compliance?
Yeah, this is where I was thinking about the vehicle towing. So have we budgeted in the past for nuisance vehicle towing? I know the borough's cracking down on it, and they put quite a bit of money to start getting vehicles cleaned up that have been laying around. I see we've got $8,000 for it.
What's,
It's on yours.
What's the matter?
Nothing, you just asking about. Was there a question?
Yeah, I was just curious, is this a new item on here, or is this something that we've always budgeted for in the past? Because it's, I mean, we don't see it under.
It was new last year.
Okay.
It was new last year.
Any other questions on code compliance?
Madam Mayor, I'm still confused about the 8,000. I didn't hear the answer.
Sorry, my microphone's terrible. So code compliance was with me last year. So we put in our budget some towing monies. And so you see it new on Chief's budget because code compliance is with him now. But to Ian Crofton, or to Councilman Crofton's question, that was definitely a hole. We were trying to find money to tow vehicles because they'd be left on our right-of-ways, and we're out of luck if we didn't tow them. And so this is to legitimize that need to have some money to tow vehicles that just, because I don't think, in history's sake, I don't think the code compliance officer in the past was really into dealing with derelict vehicles. More on the animal control side. Our code compliance now is very proactive and knows, you know, a broken down vehicle leads to a lot of problems and it needs to be moved. And so that's what you see as formal monies to deal with that. Also, because I think the way the towing works around here is usually the tow companies will tow a vehicle if it's worth money, right? But if it's a beater, you have to pay them to take it. And so that's the other caveat was, well, I'm not taking that. That's garbage. Well, yeah, no, I only take good tows, and so then we have to pay for them.
So we have to pay then to have the beaters towed?
Yes.
And then we have to pay for their disposal? 'cause
Well,
no
they
one's
might
gonna
sell
pick 'em
for
up.
$100. People love junk, but to get it off the roads, I mean that's what code compliance is for, right? Like we're dealing with the unsightly things, and that's
Definitely.
yeah, and homeless camps and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
do we have a way to recapture some of these fees? Is that something that we do?
Answer tickets. If there's somebody to ticket.
Yeah, if they ticket them, I mean, if they ticket the title owner, then it goes through the court system, and then we can garnish their PFD, basically, is the basic way of how we would go about it, but.
Okay, so, and I remember hearing you say we are working on actively pursuing a little bit more of trying to recapture loss, because I think it was Monday's conversation when we talked about fines and everything as well, so
Correct.
that's where that would fall under.
Correct, yes.
Okay. Any other questions on code compliance?
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
So we pay for animal control. Is this to board the animal after we have captured it? Can't we pass that cost back to the person that we captured the animal from?
So typically, yes, we are very active on that. We have a pretty good partnership with the animal control. If it's during their normal business hours, they come out and they help us out, take possession of the dog or the animal. If it is after hours, then there are some charges that are according to us, and then if there is somebody that needs to be cited, then they are cited. One of the things that we do look for is that education and compliance is a goal of mine. And we try to start with the lowest level possible for gaining compliance. But if somebody needs to be ticketed for, depending on whatever the case is, then we address it accordingly. And that's through citations and going to court. And our code compliance is very active with that.
Okay, any other questions?
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Along the animal control lines as well, it looks like, I'm on looking at page 94 here, Department Statistics, almost a third of all his calls are dealing with animal control. Are we? I'm just curious how, I mean, are we recapturing a lot of that cost through the tickets, or is this just a?
Animal control is a very time-consuming portion of his job. I would like to, I've had conversations with the chief over at the animal control, about just taking 100% of it over. I think those discussions are very productive, but that's the initial. There's a lot of information that still needs to be, known. But we have entertained that thought. But you are correct. There's a lot of time that he has throughout the week is dedicated just strictly doing to animal calls, and it's not necessarily responding to complaints. It's follow-up tracking, scanning, talking with vets. It's quite extensive, and it takes away from his other code enforcement duties that he has to go on a daily deal.
And the round trip to drop off animals is a time suck for him too. So yeah, it's very much a low return, high expense role that the city plays.
Madam Mayor. Chief, you said who were you looking at having take it over, sorry?
The borough animal control. We've had those discussions, and in no way, shape, or form I say that they're going to. We have just during initial chats and meetings and talking about coming up with a plan how to best serve the people in the city and reduce the amount of animal calls that the code compliance is currently undertaking right now.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, any more questions on code compliance? Okay, we are moving on to public safety Matcom dispatch on page 93. Any questions?
Give me a chance to get there.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Here's my snow removal question. Now that's what, they were flipped. Contractual services, snow removal, we're spending, looks like $3,000 on snow removal. Are we not doing it for ourselves, or is this one of the obviously, we're outsourcing it here.
I can answer that for you. We are a member of I want to say homeowners association, but it's not. We're a member of the business park there. Matcom is part of the business park, the Creekside Plaza. And so snow removal is part of the fees that the membership pays, and the membership dues are based on square footage of Matcom compared to the rest of the facility. So we just had the annual meeting 2 days ago to talk about what the fees are. And so there are 2 fees related to that, snow removal, and it's more for access stuff, because we kind of augment it with property still. And then there's the broader assessment, thank you.
Okay, any other questions on dispatch?
Madam Mayor?
Ian?
Computer maintenance, software maintenance, a pretty significant increase. I assume there's some type of new software or something in there that we're looking at.
Ooh, wow.
Yes, we are.
If you don't mind breaking that down for me.
Yeah, Matcom has not updated a lot of their equipment. Software, we're going into next generation 911, which is expensive. So we're including text to 911. Many of these costs are reimbursable through the 911 fund, but we have to pay for it first before we can get reimbursed. So looking at some upgrades to our phone system. As you know, we had a 911 outage. So part of that is fixing some of those things with our session border controllers, other software that we need for that. And then we are also in need of updating our SOPs and having SOP management, training updates. So there's software in there for that, as well as Chief indicated earlier with a 24/7 operation, the scheduling software. We just need a way to manage that easier, and it will cut down on a lot of the times that the dispatch supervisors are spending away from the console, having to work on that piece too.
Okay. Any other questions on Matcom? Hearing none, we will move on to Public Works. And Public Works Administration is on page 103. Any questions?
Melissa,
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
computer software maintenance is up a lot, definitely a lot. Is this whole new systems that, whole new software packages that you're starting to use or looking at using, or what kind of does that entail?
Yeah, thank you for that question. The largest increase is taking our MaintainX asset management program up to the enterprise level. And that provides more features within it, and it also provides more access for the users that already exist. And so they've been showing us what we can do on the enterprise, and they've given us a few of those features. And so to step into the full features, what we're looking to do is it allows us to project out certain things like life cycle costs of infrastructure. So it brings a lot of useful features now that we know how to use it. We didn't want to jump into the full program the first year that we tried it, but we've matured enough to be ready for that. So that's the bulk of the increase for the programs.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm gonna link three things together, and I imagine that they are linked. Your travel staff development dues and subscriptions are up tremendously from years gone by. So could you give us an explanation as to what kind of staff development? And I assume that staff development really means some travel associated with it.
Yeah, thank you for that question. So I'm a licensed engineer, so is my deputy. So we have continuing education requirements as is required by our positions to be licensed. And then we have a new project manager. And so we've put some funds in to work on training. We're also, continuing education training, but also new procurement techniques like design build or contractor-led systems. there's a lot of new ways to do contracting so that you can have collaboration early on. Our current style is basically just design, bid, build, and we can increase the speed at which we can get projects on the street if we bring the contractors in early and they're part of that, and we get great value from that. We need training to be prepared to best look out for the city's interest as we try to get projects out the door faster and get into construction sooner. So that's mostly preparing us to do it wisely and safely for the city.
So this is professional training, is that like offered out of the university or?
Yes,
somewhere
there's on-site training, there's also online programs, and there's symposiums or say ceremonies, conferences, seminars. Thank you. Correct.
So you're planning on doing some of the conferences, is that correct?
I hope I can take a week to go to a conference, but we'll see if we get that much downtime. Yes.
Because a lot of times those conferences are actually quite valuable.
Oh, exceedingly valuable.
Yeah.
And that's how you make those connections, right? You bump
Correct.
into, whether it's just in Alaska, right, to go to AML or to another, we've got the water side of things, the wastewater side of things, they all have those associations, and they have conferences around the state, and then you meet the cities or the users that have the same problem that you're trying to fix, and extremely valuable, yes.
Okay, any other questions,
Madam
Kathy?
Mayor, I'm going to ask you to just pull out your crystal ball for a second.
Sure.
Between the software upgrades and the trainings, do you have just kind of a ballpark idea in your head of a percentage of increased efficiencies for your department with this?
That's a great question. What I think efficiencies are, we're always looking for efficiencies like HR talked about, not handling paper again and again. We're definitely, with Maintain X, there's no more paper. And we have fantastic data collection. We have videos of failures. There was a hilarious video of fire hydrant failure at the fire station. They broke their fire hydrant. And when our tech turned it on to see where the leak was, he videoed the ground swelling as it filled with water. So we're going away from the analog systems of paper or having to, file things like that. Internally for us, the ability to digitize, so there's also some funding in there for the ongoing ArcGIS mapping subscription that we have, to take our data and to make it into maps and then bring it to the council so that you're effectively able to see what we're working with. My goal is to have the efficiency to bring you data again and again and say, this is the state of this system, this is the state of that system, here's what we've made progress on, because the more efficient that we can be to show you the progress we've made or the problems we're trying to fix, the more we can be accountable for those increases. And the analog system is just too slow and too cumbersome. So I'm very hopeful that you'll not only see an efficiency, but you'll see more information brought to you in a digestible, easy to understand, and hopefully visually impactful way as well.
Welcome to the new age. Thank you.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
Eric, I wanted to back up here to professional services under other. It looks like in years past year, we weren't spending a lot, and then it looks like last year we spent quite a bit, almost $19,000, and then this year we're only expecting 13. Give you an idea of the wave there that we're seeing.
So we're only showing 13 there. Cassie's gonna jump in and see if there's a line that's not in this year's budget.
Should it be higher, or is it?
I definitely know there was a project in there that is complete, but I don't recall what we didn't bring over this fiscal year. Yeah, under other. I'm not exactly sure what fell off. But our spending to date. Okay, I know what changed. The GIS program was in there, and now it's moved to my brain is very slow today. The computer program line, that's what moved.
So no savings, just moved
Correct.
where it's at in the
To the
budget.
right spot, yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, any more questions for Public Works Administration? Hearing none, we will move on to roads on page 107. Any question on roads?
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Uh, Repairs and maintenance here, huge drop in that one. That one's usually one I feel like we go up with. Are we purchasing something so that we're not having to maintain it another piece of equipment? At least $100,000, or did we move something somewhere?
Yeah, I'm gonna have Cassie pull it up. Oh, okay.
Eric, is that where you bought that new snow blower?
No, that would have been under the fleet.
2001.
Oh, yes. That was the repair of the difference is the repair of the grader transmission that went out last year. And so that's repaired, so we don't need to have that in the budget this year.
Okay, any other questions for Public Works
Madam
on
Mayor?
roads? Yes, Kathy?
Under other purchase services, I see the two biggest ticket items are used oil paint antifreeze disposal at $5,000, and then Matcom Electric Association streetlight install at $5,000. Is the street install, the lighting, is that something that wasn't in there before? Or is it just both these items are just costing more this year? You're anticipating them to?
The hazmat disposal costs have definitely increased.
Okay.
And we're doing a better job of forecasting that. I have mic problems tonight. In the past, we've had to transfer money to cover some of those, and so this is an accurate budget from the last couple of years of disposal costs. And we usually, the way our relationship with the lights are that, if we install a new one, we have to pay them for that, and sometimes there's damages and stuff, so.
Okay. Just a quick question, just for my own information. When there is a street light out in the city, who does somebody contact about that? Do they contact any MEA or contact the city?
You could do both.
Which one do you get the better results?
Absolutely, yeah. You can contact us,
Okay,
absolutely.
because I had a neighbor ask me, and I didn't know, so thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions for roads? Yes, Ian?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah. General supplies here. So a $60,000 increase, 40% there. Is this a price increase thing, inflation, or was there something in there that is new?
Let's see, some of it's broom heads, some of it is more paint. So it's spread among multiple things, paint, broom heads, more cold patch. But we have reduced, the line doesn't really show it, but we are using less calcium. We put calcium down on the dirt roads to keep the dust down. And so we don't need to do that anymore if we have no dirt roads. And so it's transitioning to more cold patch, of course, because there's more potholes in asphalt. And then cutting edges. And so it's basically bringing some of the materials we've overrun on into into alignment with what our past costs have been.
Because yeah, looking back years, we've been spending a little bit more than it seems like we budgeted even last year.
Yep.
And so you're just trying to account for that ahead of time.
Correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions on roads? Hearing none, we will move on to property maintenance on page 111. Any questions on property maintenance?
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Overtime, it looks like, Eric, we're cutting back on their overtime. Are they able to make it up during regular hours, or what was some of the reasoning behind that?
Yeah, thank you for that question. So our staffing, overtime is usually winter response, and so our staffing with early starts has changed. So they've figured out a pattern where they don't have to start quite so early to do the building openings that they do. And so we're just accounting for that efficiency that they found for how they start and stop the days and have less overtime.
Thank you. So they're working harder, not smarter, or working smarter, not harder.
They're getting support from parks too.
Another question, Madam Mayor, if I could.
Yes.
Jumping down to general supplies there, and small tools and equipment, we generally can lump those ones together. I mean, percentage-wise, they're pretty large increases there. Again, is it an inflation thing, or is it, hey, we're looking to purchase something new that we didn't have previously?
It is, most of the increases to purchase a couple new items. Drywall lift and a plumbing piece of equipment that reduces the amount of fire we need to use in old buildings that burn down.
Supplies, I think, are just inflation.
And supplies are inflation, yeah.
Okay, any other questions on property maintenance? Hearing none, we will move on to the museum. It's on page 118. Any question on the museum?
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Under professional services, other, almost a 600% increase, consultation and internship fees. I don't know who I'd direct that question to. All right, what kind of, are we doing some type of new internship?
I'll take that internship.
This would be Scott, right?
Bethany, she's at another meeting at the moment.
Yeah, she's in another meeting, just the reason she's not here. But I think it's that PIO.
Emergency management.
Yeah, probably.
She's on her last part of her PIO. I need 5 minutes, I can run my office, I have all my notes. Madam Mayor? Can you take a 5-minute?
No.
I run my office.
5-minute break. Back at 6:29.
I wanted to abstain.
About an hour and a half. Stop for a moment, like.
Right here.
Professional services.
Only when you think about it.
The first one, okay.
Consultation and internship.
All right, what I have in here is something with grant and aid feed, and she was gonna have a PIO class, or some
Yeah.
kind of internship class.
Mm-hmm.
That's what is written on here.
Weird.
Any other questions on museum?
Services.
Okay, what we,
Madam Mayor? A cleaning as well, I mean, 80% increase into their cleaning fees. Is there something new we're having to clean that we weren't previously having to do? That's a little bit more than just inflation there.
I'm thinking it's over there at the Dorothy Page.
Just leave it on, Cassie.
I just need to leave it on. So it has, let's see, we have museum carpet cleaning for 500, the Dorothy Page Center carpet cleaning for 500, museum window cleaning for 750, and then the Dorothy Center Page window cleaning for 550, and then the Alsco mats for the museum, which are the mats that we have that transition. They come weekly. I think it is.
Every 2 weeks.
We had it. She had it at one budgeted at 900, and it's increased to 3,000. So that's where it has the increase has came from.
So it is a significant increase, and I want to say, going forward to a lot of these, I saw those mat cleanings were, seems like their price went up pretty significantly here recently is what it was.
Okay. Any other questions on the museum? Hearing none, we are on to parks maintenance on page 122. Any questions on parks maintenance?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
just inquiring about the increase in rentals. Can you speak to that?
Absolutely. So, under rentals, we have our copier rental, of course, but then we also have heavy equipment like a dozer, aerial lift, excavator, air compressor that we have either projects planned for or we use every year for different processes.
Thank you.
Any other questions on parks?
Madam Mayor,
Ian?
repairs and maintenance. I know a lot of this is just various maintenance things, but is there anything in particular that you were specifically looking at that needed a lot of attention?
Yeah, thank you for that question. The main increase is repairing buildings and bathrooms. Our park bathrooms are very mistreated and they're very expensive to repair, but they're also one of the biggest complaints that we have from the public is when they're vandalized and we can't repair them in a timely fashion, we have them locked, and the public's very upset about that. So we're asking for more funding so we can keep them in good working order and rebuff the damage that they often receive.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Follow up to that, I know in the past we had some issues with, was it the sink faucets getting stolen pretty frequently? What are we looking at to minimize this as best we can so that we're not having to just every year increase our budget to continuously repair these faster and faster? What are we looking at to minimize this?
So there are different levels of resiliency in appliances, toilets, sinks, doors, and so you kind of think like prison grade. They're very expensive because they're so resistant to damage. So this costing includes increasing the like a prison toilet, if you will, a prison sink. It's sad to say that, but right, if they're stealing regular faucets, you don't use those faucets in a prison. You can't steal them. There was something that was going on. The stories from the parks crew that have to deal with this are just horrible. But you can't really even use normal toilets because what they would do is destroy them. They'd break I don't know how they do it, but they break it. So we have park grade equipment going in there with this budget request.
Last part to this, Madam Mayor. Is there a way for the public or anybody, whenever they see maintenance issues like this, is how do they bring forward to that? Recently, I was at, for instance, Wonderland Park, and the black fence there's a couple spots that are pretty beat up for sure.
You can always call Public Works, and you can use Problem Reporter as well.
Okay, any other questions on park maintenance? Hearing none, we are on to the library. On page 127. I think we have a handout for the library. Is that right, Cassie?
Madam Mayor, I just have a quick question. If you can just speak a little bit, I probably know the answer, the way things have been going lately, of the huge increase in legal.
Oh, yes.
Would you hit that mic?
Legal is because of the people coming, you know. Go ahead.
My name's Zane Treese. I'm the library director for the Westfield Public Library. City Council, thanks for having me here. With the legal fees have gone up, it is due to the reconsideration process, and we've, to make sure we're on the right side of the law, which is difficult to ascertain, sometimes with, back in November when this Attorney General sent out his letter to all the public librarians and all the school librarians, that was almost exactly opposite of what happened with the ACLU suing the school board at the same time. So there's a lot of gray area. So anything that we do in regards to replying to our book reconsiderations, we consult with the city attorney before we reply to them. So we went from $875 a year, which had never been touched since I've been here, to last year we spent $12,000 in the first 2.5 months. The end of last November, December, and January was a little over $12,000. So that's why there's that increase to $10,000 in that.
I had a feeling that's what it was, but just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Any other questions? Ian?
Thank you, Mayor. Do you think that's going to be enough? Same line item there. Do you feel that might be enough, knowing that it sounds like we might have more challenges coming forward? Do you feel like this should be enough for you, or do you need more?
I'd like to think so. I think we've addressed some of the issues that have come up as they've come up. I don't have a crystal ball for how it's going to go in the future. We had that initial $12,000, and since then, I believe we've been around $2,000 in the last 3 months. So the trend has been downward, but I mean, I didn't expect the trend to go up so high to begin with. So I think that was a fair placement. I mean, kind of a rough estimate there, and hopefully that's adequate and that we don't have to use it all.
Okay, any other questions on the library?
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Special programs. Just wanted to see if you could speak to what you guys are looking at there. A $1,500 increase. Is there some type of special programs you're wanting to do in addition, or the cost of the current ones, did they go up?
So we're seeing an increase in patrons all across the board. Some of the numbers you saw, we had 105,000 people come through in fiscal year 23 actually, and we're a little bit up from that here, but it don't have the total number yet because we finished at the end of June. But as far as the programming, so about 6,000 of that is the youth portion programming. So that's a lot of that summer reading program. So with more participants, you get more prizes, more. We have people coming in for doing presentations during the summer reading program. Those costs go up from year to year depending on who they're using or, for that adult program, we're trying to do a little bit more in the adult programming side, so that's gone up as well a little bit. So it's, we're trying to do a little bit more with what we have, and so those increase were kind of in line with how the trend has been for how much the library is getting used and what we're trying to provide the services for our patrons.
Okay. Any other questions on the library? Okay, hearing none, thank you, Zane. Hearing none, we are going on to recreation services on page 131. Any questions on recreation services?
Just looking to see what, if we could speak to some of the recreational programs, and I mean, I assume some of this is just a cost increase. I know the parade, the mayor's picnic, fireworks show. Is there anything addition that we're looking to add to really make it an awesome year this year for our recreation activities? I know Scott's not here to speak to it, so.
You know, we had Arctic Winter Games.
Yeah. Well, that was last year, going forward to this year, so.
Eric?
We can't do Scott justice, but I know that the fireworks show is a little bit higher this year because they like to go with a vendor, a different vendor that is a little bit more responsive and a little less, that needs less hand holding. And then Scott has some really great visions about what that new program could look like with the size of the fireworks and the scheduling and stuff. He really does an amazing job with these programs, and so he's got a great vision for the fireworks. And then is Wasilla Winterfest new? I don't remember seeing that before. So yeah, so there's a new Wasilla Winterfest. I don't know what that is. Sounds great. And then a better fireworks event this winter.
Okay, any other questions on recreation services? Okay, hearing none, we will move on to debt service. It's on page 187. We don't have any.
I'm like, we have no debt. I'm
We
like,
have no debt, so there's no
I just want to
question.
point that out.
I know.
What we're doing here.
Get in there to
I'm like, I don't know.
I know Cassie's looking at me like, what? Okay, number 15, the non-departmental on page 132.
I know. I get it right.
Well, it was already there.
Any questions on non-departmental?
Not there yet.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
the capital funds project, can you just speak to that increase just a little bit?
That will actually, it'll be covered in the very last items, but if you turn to page 217, it'll give you a rundown of all of the, basically the general fund capital projects that we have in the works from general government. So this includes the comprehensive plans, implementation, the lobbyist, our enterprise resource planning, electronic records management, equipment replacement, GIS asset mapping and management system, maintain X upgrades, and new website design. For public works, roads in the general fund, we have Riley Avenue paving, municipal separated sewer system, MS4, that's a nice term. Stormwater improvements, mini excavator, a street lighting, LED improvements, and a loader-mounted snow blower. With property maintenance and public works, we're looking at in the museum, a town site restoration, public works office renovation, train station improvement phase 2, parking lot striping, library facilities needs and concept study, a city hall 2.0. The Wasilla PD has multiple projects that are in there, and then city hall access improvements for the current city hall that we're on right now.
Can you just tell me briefly what the city hall access improvements are?
The general premise on that project,
I was just gonna add, I think we're gonna get into that into the CIP when we get there.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, so I guess on top of what Cassie was saying, that line item is the summation of the CIPs. It's just in a different form, so you see that it's called interdepartmental, but there will be a whole CIP discussion.
Yeah, there will be. Okay,
Madam Mayor,
yes.
so in the 2024 budget, we budgeted 2.3 million. Then we amended it to 700,000, and now we're going back with 3.1 million. And if you go back even further to 21 actual, again, we see this, we budget money in the thing, then apparently we don't spend it. Then the next year we budget more money, and then we don't spend it. Is that the trend that I'm seeing?
A lot of times it's the process of going through the project analysis and getting in, depending upon what the project is, it's whether or not it's capable to be done either an in-house project that our facilities, public works staff can do, or it's something along the line that we have to outsource, and whether or not we can actually get RFP bids in the correct budget limits that we're looking for, or something along those lines. It just depends on the scope of work that we're looking for, or the equipment that we're looking to buy. And so sometimes we project that we're going to, and budget it into the budget, and then once we get into the actual work of it and going through the analysis of everything that we need in order to do it, it's not feasible for many of those reasons I stated.
So last year, we spent roughly 30% we amended the budget, which I assume is more or less going to follow the actual expenditures. So we amended it down to 30% of our original budget. So what would be your estimate then that we're actually gonna spend the 3.1 million?
I would actually project we will probably,
I mean, I don't mind you spending it if we're gonna budget it, and you have reasonable plans to do so, but it just seems like if we budget money and then don't spend it.
Ted pointed something out. She's gonna pull up some numbers.
if you actually look at this chart, it appears that we've had some data entry clerical. Our FY23 actuals is matching our FY24 amended budget, so that I believe that is actually not the amended budget amount that we're currently working off of in 2024.
So that is an error then?
Yes, it
That
is.
is, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're looking, yeah.
Madam Mayor, just clarification, you said the
20.
2024 amended matches the adopted.
Yes.
Thank you.
Or amended and matches the 23 actuals.
That's where the error is.
That's where the error is.
23 actuals and 24 amended should not match.
Right. And 24 amended needs to be changed.
Do we know what that amount is?
No, she has to do some
Okay,
work first. Yeah.
okay,
So
gotcha, so just cross it out
don't
for
look
now.
at it 24 amended. It's not right.
Something I have to dig through.
Okay, any other questions on non-departmental? Hearing none, we are moving on to Special Revenue Fund Youth Court, page 138. Any questions on the youth court?
Am I good?
Okay, hearing none. We will move on to enterprise funds, sewer, pages 150 through 154. Sewer fund, general administration, page 150. Any questions?
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Okay, so it looks like we're adding one staff person, is that correct? Because we're going from 142,000 up to 200,000, is that what I'm seeing there? I don't see the staffing.
Would Mr. Johnson and the council appreciate kind of an update on this? Okay, I'll talk broader picture. So I'm requesting 2 new sewer staff. And so you'll see that in the budget for personnel costs. And the reason, the background for that is that we've talked a lot about our sewer system. If you think about it like our vascular system or our blood veins in our heart, our sewer system is about to have a heart attack. And in reality, so it's so bad, blood pressure is so high that we've actually had to add new, more powerful pumps at WASI to overcome the pressure that every pump sees pushing into it. So we run from fire to fire, dealing with failed lift stations every day, 7 days a week, basically, with our on-call staff. This winter we had 30 frozen sewer systems that required daily checking. The smaller ones only need to be pumped every few days, but we would have to go check most of them every day because their systems weren't pumping. So what that means is that we were not pumping other septic tanks because we only have a certain amount. So what we've seen is our systems and our community has grown, almost doubled in the last 10 years. And we have not added really any capacity with both personnel and equipment. We're working very diligently with millions of dollars of federal money to expand the sewer treatment plant to receive the sewage that we need more people to collect. So what you'll see in these requests, both in water and sewer, is to be able to staff so that we can get out of the Groundhog's Day of panic mode, hair on fire, and actually hopefully get ahead of it and be more proactive versus reactive. One of the things that we need to be able to increase is our ability to police our sewer users. Because when we receive sewage from a car wash or a Jiffy Lube or something that has an industrial side to it, our permit really is only for their bathrooms. If we're not keeping on top of them to make sure that they're not putting silt or oil or antifreeze into our systems, we have just received a huge liability for our permits, both state and federal. And so to be able to go out and do those spot checks, to be able to go and do those trainings, if you will, so that those users understand what they can and cannot do, takes staff that are right now climbing down to manholes and replacing failed pumps and blown hoses and pumping out frozen septics and stuff. So we're really just feeling the inability to get ahead of it and do the preemptive, preventative things that are the most cost-effective time to do it. If you're always in panic, emergency mode, that's the most expensive place you can live. And it also is pretty trying on staff who are on basically a 6-week rotation where they're on every other 6 weeks on call, getting called in the middle of the night by Matcom for alarms going off. So That's this is the first request in the enterprise funds that you'll see tonight for additional staff so that we can catch up and get ahead and get our system back into better, safer, more reliable working condition.
Just a follow-up to that, Eric.
Yeah.
So you said that we're running high pressures on our sewage. High pressures, in my mind, could be alleviated through increasing our diameter of the pipes. Are we doing any kind of capital to do that, or creating a more grid system rather than, I mean, do we have any capital projects like that on the books to try and fix the system rather than just simply add people to it?
That is a great question. People won't help the pressure in the system. You're absolutely right. So one of the first steps that we're working through with the, we have an RFP that we finished reviewing this week for support at the sewer treatment plant. Part of that is a master plan that needs to come out of it, and we've been talking with Alaska DEC. They have a revolving loan / grant fund to get master planning monies through them. But we need a master plan that looks, our last master plan was from 2010, so it's 14 years old. It's of course written when we were half the size we were. So that's on the extremely long but important list of RFPs that needs to go out to have a consultant help us with that exact question. If the main distribution line or the main collection and transmission line to the sewer treatment plant is too small, what do we do? Yeah, extremely important. The personnel, like I said, won't really have any impact on that. It's the 1,000 lift stations and counting that are required every day to keep people. No, thank you for that reminder. Yeah, and so we also have attrition within the treatment side. I'm trying to remember if this is there. We've talked about kind of putting sewer and water together a little bit more reasonably. But so we have the sewer treatment plant operator who's been with us for 25 years. He's retiring next year. And so the reason for the request for 2 people this year is to get another person that's in the streets and a replacement to shadow our treatment operator so that we have a handoff in that attrition. And then our wastewater supervisor, he will be retiring in 2 years. And so there's discussion about how to have training and coverage so that his 20 years of knowledge doesn't leave with him.
But the budget that I see here is only an increase in 62, and considering that there's at least an 18% built in there, so that's only really a half-time additional position in this particular budget item. Is that correct?
That is correct. So the wastewater treatment superintendent is also our water superintendent, whatever you want to call him.
Yeah, he does both, yeah.
He does both of them, so he's split 50%. You'll see it in the sewer fund, and then 50% of his salary will be in the general administration for the water fund. The I think it's the water sewer technician 2 will be completely out of the actual water treatment operation plant. And then the 2 operators in training, we just assigned 1 to the sewer fund and 1 to the water fund. So they'll be in, and I believe those are under just general operations of both of those funds too. So you'll see an increase.
And the reason that split makes sense is because they actually switch on and off. So one will be in water for 3 months and one will be in sewer, and then they swap back and forth. And they need that experience to be able to take the licensing tests that the state requires. And so we have a really good training program to get them all the hands-on experience that the state requires for that. But you see 1 in water full-time and 1 in sewer full-time, but they actually swap back and forth. They just count as 1 FTE for each side.
Yeah. They're paid half and half.
Right.
Okay, any other questions on the Sewer Fund, General Administration.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
down to professional services, other, a significant increase there. And it looks like our adopted 2024 was the same amount, but we either haven't calculated how much we spent yet. On page 150, right?
Sorry, I was flipping back and forth. I
Yep.
lost my page.
Count 34. 34.
Okay. This one?
Just curious to see what I assume there's something new in there that we're doing.
Ted?
Yeah. Yes. So we have PLC control services money in there. Those are they control the processes in the treatment plant. So there's $2,000 of support to make sure those keep running.
Is that a reoccurring? We'll start seeing that every year, or is that just a one-time?
It's a complicated system, so we expect to need service every year, basically. There's components that fail every once in a while.
Okay, any other questions?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
computer software maintenance. What are we getting some new programming to help with all of the monitoring as well there?
Yeah. Yes. So there is a revenue and expense forecasting program called MuniWorth that takes in our expenses and our revenues and shows how we're doing operationally. And so that's something that we'll be sharing with the council to show what the bottom line is for both the water fund, sewer fund, and the airport fund. And so it's basically the next step from using a bunch of spreadsheets to having a graphical understanding of where we've been, where we are now, and then because we live on revenues, helping to decide what the fees surrounding water, sewer, and the airport should be to make the bottom line match. It has capital outlays, it allows us to illustrate what the current situation is, and then we can say, well, like we have a lot of CIP requests for sewer, right? So we put those in, and then we can also show, well, we're also gonna get these grants, and what does that do to offset the capital needs? And then if there's a negative impact to the fund balance within that, then we can look at what we need to do for rates, and we can play with it and see immediately. We can run scenarios. If there's an increase of something, what does it do? If there's 2 years of an increase, what does it do? It's very dynamic, and it makes data-driven decisions a lot easier to see. So you'll see funding requests in this fund, water fund, and the airport fund, so that we have that tool to work with.
Follow. I was going to ask. I was like, that sounds like a lot for $6,300 roughly, an increase there. So it's spread across. You said water, sewer, and airport.
Well, no, that's the cost for that one fund.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, but if you think about it, the paradigm shift is you can go and hire a consultant to do a rate study for you, and it will be at least $50,000 right off the bat. And that is one study, and you look at it and you say, oh, that's a lot. To the rate they say, 9%, whatever that is. And then that's just 1 year. You have no support the next year. You have to implement it however you do it politically. This program is fraction of that, is 1/10 of that. And it is to be updated every year. So you see, they've already assimilated all of our data, working with Cassie and her team to dissect our books. They're actually super good at it. They just went online and grabbed all of our data. It's kind of funny because think about the public trying to read it. They're experts. They just went and downloaded all of our data, loaded it in, and we just made a few changes. And then we worked through this proposed budget, and they've showed it to us. And then we have that support for the next, forever long we want to pay that subscription. And then when we get into the decision if we need to change rates, they will come alongside us and show how we can model that. And so if there's proposals from the council with a percentage or something, we plug those in and you immediately see what it does. So in a committee of the whole meeting like this, you could discuss it, see it, have that clarity, and then make a decision, versus having to go through multiple reports and revisions and spreadsheets and stuff. So very useful, and I think the return on investment far exceeds the process of getting a RFP out there and picking a consultant and then having a static document that doesn't come with any support on how to implement it.
Follow up to that as well.
Yes.
Thank you. Leads me to something else, was when I was looking at this, was it looks like the funds, I mean, it's running in negative right now. And so this is your solution to figure out, how do we fix that?
Right.
And before we address any, because I believe our last rate increase was 2014, and I believe it was 5 years it took to implement that one. So technically 2019 was the last time we did a rate increase, you could argue.
Right.
So that's really the long-term solution to, hey, how do we fix this? Obviously, we're running negative.
Correct.
Year over year, so.
Yep.
Sounds like a great idea, I like that. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, any other questions? Seeing none, we are on to page 151, customer accounting services under sewer fund. Any questions? Okay, hearing none, we go on to page 152, treatment operations and maintenance on the sewer fund. Any questions?
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Ian?
Eric, could you speak to the $50,000 sewer plant maintenance and repairs? Is there something specific we're looking at fixing there?
Absolutely. So the increase is additional equipment, both in reserve and replacement for the treatment operations. We have multiple pumps that move sewage around the facility. We've made great progress in acquiring long lead pumps. Some of them are German made. Last year, we're not quite done yet. So this adds money to get those critical parts coming, so we aren't down when there's a failure.
Any other questions? Okay, hearing none, we will go on to page 153. Collection system operations and maintenance. Any questions?
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Looking at repairs and maintenance again, another $50,000 here. Again, is there something specific we're looking at?
Yes, so this is sewer collections. So these are the staff and trucks that go out and do the septic tank pumping and repair blown hoses. And so the bulk of the increases are the Vector truck and the steam thawing equipment all need repairs. There's different problems with all of them, so this is to keep that fleet running.
Madam Mayor? And is this the vehicles themselves or the equipment on the vehicles that are in need of repair?
The equipment on the vehicles. They're part truck, part pump, part vacuum. They're very complicated.
Any other questions? Hearing none, we will go on to page 154, capital projects, sewer fund. Any questions?
Madam Mayor? Just again, going into the addition to the employees here, is it kind of the same thing with the sewer? These were the other ones you were discussing? Because it looks like we've got a total of 4. We're adding 2 to sewer, 2 to water. Or are they shared again?
Are we looking at capital funds or are we looking at water now? I think we're on page 154 still, right?
154.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I was thinking we moved on to water here because it was the page over.
Any questions?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
just, quickly, it might be easier to do this in the capital part because all the definition, I'm sorry for butting in, all of the descriptions for the capital projects for water and sewer are there.
Okay.
Whereas in this line item, there are things just get, put together as proposed budget due to the fact that we haven't given them account codes yet.
Okay. All righty. Then we'll go on to water, and it starts on page 162.
So, in my presentation about the water department, as we talked about the growth, most of our growth in water is in the commercial sector. Homes want to connect to water, but the cost of connecting your home to water today is pretty expensive. And if a person has a choice, they tend to drill a well, or the developer will. But so we see commercial water needs, and that really comes from fire services or, need to have sprinklers and stuff. And so that comes with the fire marshal review for occupancy and the comfort level with the fire marshal feeling that we have the water that we can provide. We've been talking with them about another water master plan and a flow, a forecast basically, so that, because they come at it from a life and safety, but also an insurance protection side. So they want to be able to show the insurance providers that we've coordinated and that we have the capacity to provide all the water for fire that they need. One of the things that we have not been able to do is the critical preventive maintenance on our water system, which has to do with valve maintenance. So all the valves in all the streets should be touched. And we need to make sure that they're clean. You have to vacuum them out. They fill up with sediment, or else you can't get on them. And so there's just these things that as your system grows, you just have more things you need to touch. And so the valve maintenance is super important. And then for the last few decades at least, the fire department has had a robust volunteer fire team, and they could be tasked with doing the fire hydrant maintenance and the flushing and the pressure testing. The number of volunteer firefighters has gone down, and so the fire department is really relying on full-time firefighters now, and they don't have the extra staff to go out and do those tasks. We've also noticed that there's an unfortunate correlation with the fire flow testing and brown water events, because they are not, the flushing that we need for water quality is not the same as testing for fire flow. And so if your intention is to test fire flow and that's it, you actually create a ton of issues with disturbing sediment in the line, and then we get complaints for a week afterwards, and then we have to go out and flush again. So in talking with the fire chief, we're going to be taking back the fire flow testing, and we're going to run the flushing regime at the same time. The trouble with that process is that it takes 3 people to do it. And that's why the fire department found it efficient. They could send 1 truck out and they could make it work. But you have to stand there long enough to get the sediment out as well. And that is not something that the firemen could put time into. They have to be ready for leaving at a call at a moment's notice. It's always best to do the fire hydrant flushing after 3 p.m. because of the water usage. That's about when it starts to go down. And if you can time it after the rush, the commute, you impact the streets less because you're spraying at least 2 full fire hydrants usually into a road or down the ditch. And that
is not really feasible with our current workload to have staff then stay on after the normal end of day in teams of 3 and make that happen. And so this request is to help augment our staff so that we can take on those preventive maintenance projects I talked about, but then also take back the fire flow testing that we need to do to keep our insurance ratings and just make sure that the system's in tip-top shape.
Okay. Any other questions on water fund, general administration?
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
In supplies, it looks like in every area but gasoline, it's really increased. Is that because we're anticipating more people, needing more tools, needing more supplies, or can you speak to that, maybe Eric?
Make sure I'm looking
On page 162,
Mhm.
under like general supplies, small tools and equipment,
It's up by 16.
uniform and clothing,
It's
the difference between 25 and 2024
Yeah.
is really, so. I just didn't know if it was extra staffing, extra work anticipation, or,
It is, it's kind of two things. It's definitely supplies for new employees, outfitting them. So then there's hand tools for all the new employees, and there's equipment and uniforms. There's also been some new electric and pneumatic hand tools that they've requested to make the jobs go faster.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to page 163, Water Fund Customer Accounting Services. Any questions? Hearing none, we'll move on to page 164, Water Fund Treatment Plant. Any questions? Moving on to page 165, Water Fund Distribution.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
jumping down to supplies, Eric, again, I assume there's some supplies they're needing to get these jobs done. Pretty significant increase there, $30,000 under general supplies. Was there something specific they were looking to get?
No.
I'm trying to remember.
I have a detail for that one. so.
Yeah.
It's,
Oh, I know what it is. So under general supplies, we have pipes, valves, pumps, hydrants, paint, personal protective equipment, safety. We keep materials on hand for emergencies, And that stockpile had fallen so low, and we finally did an accounting of it. We don't have enough backup supplies if there's an incident. So this is to bring us back into a position of being ready for a repair that we have to jump on.
Any other questions? Okay, hearing none, we will move on to water fund non-operating debt service. We don't have any, do we?
Nope. We did.
Okay. With that, we are on to the airport, page 173.
So I'll speak to the airport. There is no request for a new person, so but maybe next year.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a lot that we need to do at the airport. The airport is looking great. If you fly by or drive by, we've got a bunch of our paint renewed. Wasilla is nice and bright again. We're adding numbers to all the tie downs so that it's more clear. We've added 6 new transient spots. We still have 103 people on the wait list, but we're trying to move through those, the people that aren't really serious about it because they turn down every offer we give them. But in general, the airport is, it's waiting to really thrive for a airport manager who can be out there and talk to our users, and we can increase our customer satisfaction by providing what they need, but then also just making it more vibrant. Right now, it has way too many planes that don't have tails or wings, and it's just not as vibrant as it could be. We're making really good progress with getting commercial tenants in there. If you drive by now, you'll see a new 100 by 100 foot hangar going up. We're really excited about that. That's Silver Skies Aviation. The Apron E Phase 2 project's going very well, and they're in the middle of that construction. There's just a lot of really great things happening. We're working with another interested party in creating our first large commercial lease on the Menard side of the field. We've got a bunch of permitting in the queue to get a new taxiway on that side. We call it Taxiway K or Taxiway Kilo. That's moving, but those permits through the FAA and the federal side take forever. We've got permits in for fixing our fence. We have a bunch of fence that fell down because it got frost jacked and then fell over. So we do a great job of catching moose. And so I get a lot of calls about moose. But we're keeping the gates working well. We've got good cameras out there. We're right on the cusp of having a really vibrant, active airport out there. And more funding coming through the governor and the state legislature for the runway extension. We're in the really exciting part of the airport master planning process where we'll be bringing illustrations to the community of what it could be to get their feedback. So we'll have some really neat drawings with 10 years into the future and seeing what the community thinks of that. And then implement those revisions based on public comment.
Okay. Any questions on the airport fund general administration? Page 173.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Computer software maintenance, do we have an idea as to is there a new software or is it a soft price increase in the software?
That's also that same program, Uniworth, to help us figure out what our rates should be. And then we've got camera maintenance for the security cameras out there.
Is the camera maintenance new then?
Some of it's new, some of it's expansion, and some of it's just keeping, like, we have cameras at the gates right now, making sure those work.
Okay. Any other questions? Right, on page 174, that's the capital projects. That's in the CIP, right?
Yep.
Okay. Then we will move on to page 183, Sports Center.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I know this is Scott's department, but we have it looks like a new sports center facility operator is being requested.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have somebody that could speak to kind of what the goal is of adding that person?
I can stab at it. Because we have gotten so many more events. And the events are getting larger. I mean, you've seen, if you was there at the home show or the outdoorsman or whatever. And for him, because of the hours that they work, you know, they're there at 2:00 in the morning, cleaning up and doing and whatever. And Scott is very meticulous about that being cleaned. So the staff that he's got right now, they can't continue to keep up. And especially with all of the big events and whatever. I mean, they did an exceptional job for Arctic Winter Games. And so that's the reason for another person. And Scott is, he's not just the director at the Menard Center, he is recreational services, which entails more than just managing the Menard Center. So, you know, the parks are getting bigger, more things are happening in the park. I mean, we've got music in the park. We have the 4th of July event. We're having the Winter Festival. We're having all this other stuff that we've never had before. So, you got to have people. So, any questions?
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Just a quick one on the increase on the vehicle fund. Is it because it has not been funded at a very stable, high level or anything? I mean, it's been funded really low. And I don't, I was just wondering what the increase was.
Kathy, what is that again?
For the vehicle fund?
It's going down.
No, it
Oh,
went up.
he's.
It went from 10 to 50.
It went up 40,000.
Yeah, that's to get another truck.
It's it's a new truck for the snow plowing that they do out there.
Oh, for the snow
Yeah.
plowing, okay.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
current truck that, due to the increase in parking lot and the one that they currently have, just, it can't continue on to do all of the whole lot, so they need another truck to do the back,
All right.
new back lot that they just paved.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
No questions, Madam Mayor, just a comment. I know Scott's not here, I'll tell it to him, tell him when he gets here again. I just want to say how well his summary was written. It was very detailed and very easy to understand. So I just want to give a shout out to Scott
Yep.
on his summary. If you read through that, it was really, really well done.
Okay. We are on to the cemetery, page 186. Any questions?
Madam Mayor, did we skip cultural and recreation operations?
Maybe? I did,
Okay.
but that's the capital project.
Page
And
183?
that's in the CIP. On 184?
No, I'm on 183.
I thought we just done it 183.
Oh, we were on 181. Wait, maybe we were right, yeah, because there's one of those ones that's 2, I think.
Okay, we're on the cemetery fund on 186. Okay. Any questions on the cemetery fund?
If we could, I believe Usually the clerk gives a little bit of a summary. Are you able, is that Jamie does, Sarah, every year, just to kind of what the coming year looks like for the cemetery?
Through the mayor to Councilmember Crafton, we handle the record side and Public Works handles the maintenance side. As far as cemetery lots, we don't have any available right now. We just have a few niches left. And we, under 4504, where you see it says buyback available cemetery lots, once in a while, if people are moving out of state, they'll come and sell back their cemetery lot to the city, so that's why we have $3,000 in there, so we can, and we have a waiting list, there's about 32 people on there right now. And so when somebody sells back a lot, we go to the first person on the list.
And for operations, I'm happy to give you an update. So we have some money in the CIP that we're going to use to add about 30 more plots. There was a tertiary access road that we took out of use. We didn't need it. And so we're bringing Phil in there. Phil's mostly in place now. Now we're working with the surveyor and the clerks to properly survey it so that we have the new plots figured out so they're available for sale. And then we've got, the old section has a lot of trees, and we had some that blew down and some that were gonna come down, and so we've done some strategic tree removal, and so we're going to have some stump grinding take place, and so we've got some kind of more than just grass mowing projects in there this summer to spruce it up a little bit. And then we have the kind of the yearly cleaning and we have to be sensitive, but removal of like unpermitted fences and benches, and there's always a lot of pressure to stay within the rules of the use of the cemetery. There's not a lot of things you're actually allowed to put in the cemetery, and so we have to sensitively remove those sometimes. That's the plan for the summer.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, we will move on to debt service funds, and that's on 187, and basically it is just an explanation. So we will move to capital project funds on 189.
Maybe we can take a 5-minute recess before we dive into.
What did I tell you before we started? Got 5.
The detailed list for the capital.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
So that on 191, that's where my question was for city hall access improvements. So where physically are you going to be doing this? Now that I caught you with something in your mouth.
Did you say page 181?
191.
Oh, 191, sorry.
Madam Mayor, did we want to go and just go through the pages of them, or do you just want us to ask questions? I feel like it might be easier if we just went through the entire thing.
Okay.
And went from in the order. I'm sorry, Ms. Cottle.
If you're gonna ask a question, for instance, if it's under general government, maintain X, that's what you need to say. Specify what you're asking for.
Would you like me to answer the access question, or do you wanna?
Kathy, go ahead.
Yeah, so, okay, so it's this building, and it has to do with, both like electronic controls, we put locks in and stuff, and it also has to do with, we've got automatic doors. There's a lot of ongoing, access issues with ADA in and out of the building, and then having funds for, the, secure control side of stuff. So we've made some changes, but we have more to do this fiscal year if this CIP is approved.
All right, thank you.
Okay, any questions on page 191?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
enterprise resource planning, the details on 194. Could I get a brief summary what this one is? And then one of the questions I had was down at the bottom, it says licensing costs. Do you have an idea as to what this is gonna start costing us in the future? What it entails?
So this is for the Enterprise Resource Planning ERP, which is basically our financial software, if that helps people understand. So currently, right now, we are still in the consultation stage with our current key high consultations. They are expected to bring us deliverables on June 21st, I believe it is. We are still in the stages of demoing some of the ERP systems that are out there. This dollar amount is just kind of the $750,000 for FY25 is more of an estimate. We have been told that licensing can range anywhere from roughly $100,000 to $250,000 a year. We currently expend roughly about $150 to $175 in all of our different softwares that we currently utilize to operate, from Naviline to MuniRevs to different programs that we currently utilize to kind of hodgepodge our way together, I guess is the best way to say it. So looking at all those different licenses that we currently have and whether or not the efficiencies that we could maintain through getting another, ERP, that's still what the consultant is working on for us. The biggest cost of this is going to be roughly possibly $500,000 in implementation cost, and that is getting our current data off of all of those systems and converted into the new system, and that's where customizations and things of that nature will have to happen. And so that is just a number that the consultant has kind of given me in regards to that. This number could be adjusted up or down based upon that. And then the remaining 26 and 27 cost is more of a implementation. As we go through this process, what we're learning is that we need to begin with our financial general ledger, kind of the guts of everything that we deal with, our HR and our payroll. And then as we continue on the process, we would bring on modules for utility billing, we'd bring on modules for possibly sales tax, possible modules for licensing and permitting, which is going to be staggered throughout years coming up based upon the implementation of the main software that we're working with.
Follow-up? So this potential software that you're looking at is an all-in-one for us that, obviously there's some other ones that we've discussed that wouldn't work in here. Okay, and you said, so did we already spend the 216 in the past? Your 750 here is fairly high, it sounded like.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we could, it sounded like there's almost $500,000 there that we might not need to spend.
Correct. It's a variable of what we get back for quotes and RFP bids. We honestly haven't made it to that stage, but we need something in the budget so that when we need to come to you with an action memorandum, so we have appropriation authority on that, so that we can begin the process of implementing and transitioning and going through that process. So
sounds really good. Thank you.
Any more questions?
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Our new website design, page 195, just next page there. So $75,000 for a new website. Are we looking at a complete overhaul? Are we looking at just a slight upgrade? And honestly, is $75,000 enough if we're doing an overhaul?
It's actually for a new actual website design. And the main part of that is that what we have been finding out as we have been going through these demos with other the providers for ERP, our current website will not talk to anybody, any of the rest of our financial softwares or possible third-party payers. So right now, like if you go out to our website, you have to click MuniRevs to get to MuniRevs, and then inside MuniRevs, you have to actually do the third pay. We're actually looking for portals and things of that nature so that people can go on there and pay their utility bills all in one site, their licensing in one site, everything is there on the front page, and that we have better current events, current news, calendars, things of that nature. So we're looking into upgrading all of that in order to give kind of better public engagement is basically kind of what we're dealing with. And as we've worked our way through this ERP system, we're finding out that it will not talk to the new current systems that are out there.
And follow up, so is the 75 to get it to the RFP there, or is that the full implementation of a new website?
That would be a full implementation, so that would be like a design and implementing and getting everything started for it. And we would begin that process. So we have our current software provider extend our contract for 1 year to the end of June 30, 2025, and so on. We would hope to have it ready for July 1st. When we begin, hopefully, our new ERP system, we would have a new website system along with it.
Okay, any further questions?
We're in CIP, this is the best part. 2 questions here, I'll just kind of lump them together for, my guess is gonna be Eric here. The mini excavator on 196 and 197, the loader mounted snow blower. It sounds like these are 2 new pieces of equipment. And I will take a leaf out of Stu's page here. Is this, we're gonna use current staff to run these pieces of equipment? Or I assume we're not needing to hire anybody to run these, is that correct?
No new staff is needed for these. The Mini X is a purchase that would expand our capabilities. We don't have any piece of equipment like that right now, so it would be roads primarily, but we'd share it with parks as well. And then the snow blower is to replace the one that we have. That would serve as a backup. We currently only have one right now, so when it goes down, we have no snow blowing capability. So a new snow blower would double our capacity and give us a backup.
Okay. Any more questions?
I'm gonna start with the City Hall 2.0 on page 199. So I know this is something we talked pretty heavily about during our December conversation. Just looking at the implementation of this, so I'm curious what the 50,000 is gonna do for us now, the 1.4 next time, and then 30.6 million. I'm not sure who this is gonna fall under.
Yeah, I could take that. So I put this together. The idea is that the 50,000 would get us started with an RFP with a most likely an architectural firms putting in proposals. We would start with a evaluation of our current size, like what we have for usable space, number of staff, and then identify probably 6 locations, 3 city-owned and 3 non-city-owned, and identify the pluses and minuses for those, and make a ranking so we can see which ones rise to the top, and from that data, then we'd move into either in this next fiscal year, we'd probably come back, if we have we would take that data and then move into the next phase, which is showing here in fiscal year 26, where we get into the full-blown design. And that brings us into cost estimates. We just have a rough magnitude of cost of about 30.6 million based on my rough estimate on square footage and cost per square foot. But this is just kind of a planning document on how that could work. We use 50,000 of seed money to get started, and then if it gets to green light to move ahead, we'd get into the design and then construct, hopefully in fiscal year 27.
Madam Mayor, to Eric, so you said if it gets a green light, does the public get to vote on this?
That would be through the funding package if we needed to do that. There, it depends. The only reason I see there'd be a vote would be if there was a sales tax implication. You know what I mean? I can't talk today. General obligation bonds, whatever that is. But the green light, my first green light would be from the council when we have the first report saying this is the direction we want to go. Now we want to put some more money into it, whether it be not until fiscal year 26 or before then. But yeah.
Okay.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Along that same lines, I mean, I don't mind spending the 50,000, although I don't necessarily like that, but it seems like we're being asked to, well, we need a new city hall. This is really the first time we've really talked about that within the city council. To me, I can think of 3 existing other options that could or should or maybe were explored, but maybe not. I mean, I personally know of one particular government building which is probably coming available in the very near future. So why would we be building another building when there may be existing options out there? That's the first thing. Second thing is we have, we're going down the line of the city needs to build the building. Well, why can't we lease space? Okay, I've never seen that option yet as well. So I don't mind going down the line of a building, but let's look at what our options are, rule out the options before we just head down the new building line.
We could do
Does
that.
that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
that
what I
could-
would
that-
like to see
Yeah.
when we come and being asked to spend that 50,000.
Okay.
Okay?
I think that's totally reasonable within that proposal that we want to have them look at, you know, those options. Do we build
Right.
our own or do we lease?
What are our options?
Yeah.
And why is this the best?
Yeah, and so that would definitely start with identifying how much space we need, and then they could do a market study and say, yeah, we found
Right.
several buildings that are the right size.
Right.
Okay. Any further questions?
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Through the mayor, a question for our library director,
Okay.
if you would please. I didn't want you to fall asleep back there.
Sorry.
I'm very above that one, for library. Just kind of a simple question on your opinion. I realize that use of the library has grown quite a bit. Do you feel like we're getting close to being maxed out with what we can do with our current library, with the growth that you've seen?
Yes, so when the building we have now, which is new, great, fabulous facility, was built about 7.5 years ago. When they built the building with, the idea in mind was they would keep the same number of staff with the larger facility, 3 times larger than the library before. And they didn't anticipate the extra growth at the time of how much is being used. Just for instance, it's gone up from around 65,000 perhaps patrons coming through the doors to 105,000. So we've slowly been increasing staff. We added a halftime position about 2-3 years ago, and we added a halftime position last year. We're looking to add some additional hours. We're open 40 hours a week because we're open 6 days and trying to cover the ends. But with the building design the way it was originally built, we have space for staff. We're pretty much at capacity for that, to have people without sharing desk, computers and office space. So I think what we're looking at with the capital improvement project is the feasibility of keeping in line with the architectural lines and things to be able to add perhaps a staffing area for the youth, or the staff that deal mainly with the youth, and perhaps having a processing area in that area, and what works best. And we're really just seeing what those ideas are now, because it's kind of a chicken egg thing. If we add staff but have a place to put them, if we don't have, so that's what the thinking is for there. Is the best way, if it's feasible, to add on to the existing building for office space, and then also processing. And I say processing because we do nearly all the processing of the materials in-house, getting the materials ready to put on the shelves, and that's in the area as well as where our staff are rubbing elbows and stuff with the desk and the computers and stuff. So does that help?
Yes, it does. The library itself is an amazing facility, and your staff is absolutely amazing. I'm just always blown away at some of the programs that go on there and programs that I've attended there. Is there feasibly enough room on the property to be able to put an addition onto that library?
Oh, yes. I mean, there's 5 acres around and it's what works best for, we don't want to deviate from what the architect had in mind when he built the building. But is it better to work with where the existing office space is and bring it towards the parking lot? There's room there. Or where the courtyard is, where we have the 2 picnic tables, is it better to kind of block that off a little bit and move the picnic tables maybe a little further out? There's room there, depending on what square footage is recommended for that area to accommodate the growth there. One other statistic I'll just throw out there is in FY23 we circulated 241,000 physical items, and that takes a lot of staff to keep that going in and out, and and that was 50,000 more than the year before. So we're anticipating growth and not reduction. So we're trying to get ahead of the curve to where it's still manageable, and we're not just treading water or losing ground in there.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor, I have a question. So when they reopen the Palmer Library, what will that do with number-wise?
So right now, we're probably, I figure, about 15% extra circulation right now we're doing because of the Palmer situation. They're looking at opening, there's no hard numbers yet, but they're looking at maybe 2027. If you look at the growth of the whole community, the whole area, we're the fastest growing, the borough, and so I think that even by the time, if we go forward with adding staff and adding to the building, we're just staying ahead of the curve with how much more use the library is getting with Wasilla. I think with Palmer opening, that could, if they open right now, it would reduce, say 15%, but if we have another 15% growth between now and then, we're just treading water. And then beyond that, we're trying to get ahead of that. I think it's definitely, the idea is to think towards the future and the growth in the area and be looking to that, because it takes a while for these projects to happen.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
And you believe that the $30,000 in CIP will be able to get you at least an idea of going forward?
Working with Public Works on that, I think that's the figure they.
And this basically gives the concept study to get where you would like to see the library going.
Right. So that he can bring back more information and have some ideas to share, and then the council can decide where to go.
And talking about the growth with the election in Anchorage, yeah, 15% is not gonna be hard to make up.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Sir, no more questions for you, Mr. Tresh, thank you. Going back over to the Public Works renovation and the City Hall access improvements, if we're considering the new City Hall, are improvements to the current building something that we still, if we're gonna go down the road of a new building, then we're really gonna say, all right, we're gonna do the bare minimum here. Like, are these things that are super necessary that you feel like we're still gonna need even if we're going that direction?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. We don't want to throw good money after bad. Any building that replaces this, if that happens, is years in the way, like we said, at least 27. This being a public building and having public meetings here, having security concerns, it needs to remain safe, accessible, not bring us into risk with litigation, that sort of thing. Also, what would happen to this building after it's vacated? It's still going to do something. So we definitely, there are things around here that I would definitely jump on if we were never moving. But the request in here is to keep it habitable. It's to keep it in good enough repair that we aren't sliding into a shabby, unreasonable building for for city council and city business to take place in, even if we find it that we have the funding and move ahead with the new building in a few years.
Okay, any more questions?
Madam Mayor?
Ian?
Parks improvements, this 75,000, I know I saw when I had asked earlier about park maintenance. What are we looking at, or excuse me, not 75,000, that's what we spent last year, 155. What big projects are we looking at here to hope to do with our 155 and then future 75s a year?
So some of the projects outlined are improvements, mostly in Idita Park, but in other parks as well. So in Idita Park, there would be additional lighting along some of the trails, some of the pathways, increased irrigation in some of the areas. We've talked about adding some more cameras in the under some pavilions that are a little bit more out of sight. So it's mostly lighting, trail, irrigation, and other amenities in those parks. Carter Park needs some attention because it's really soft and stuff is settling over there. So all the parks have quite a list of things. What you don't see on here should come out of the Parks and Recreation Committee, but you know, there's been talks about like replacing Wonderland Park's play structure. That's not included in this. That would be a much bigger project, and I think that's something that will probably come about through through their process of talking about projects next year, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, it says in here funding includes phased replacement of Wonderland Park, so.
Yeah, so that's like fencing stuff. It's not like taking down the structure, because those structures are you have to get a playground designer these days. So that's our staff going in and fixing boards, or if the bridge needs replacement, it's kind of the internal repairs that we can make. But a full-blown rebuild is a whole nother animal.
I like the idea and don't. It's been there for a long time.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
So within that same 155, do you have any plans for doing anything with the beach erosion issue at Newcomb Park?
We talked about that last year. I think that's a great idea. What we were concerned about was finding sand that we felt comfortable putting down. I'll bring it back up with my parks crews, because that drop-off that you talked about is something I'd like to fix as well. They felt concerned that they wouldn't be able to find a sand that would be, I forget the term that they used. They were just worried that it wouldn't be amenable to that use, but.
But it's really ugly.
I agree. And the other thing I think we run into is we have to get some permits, but we can work through that.
But I mean, we have thousands, well, 1,000 probably a day in any nice sunny day using that particular beach, and it's ugly. And you got big holes there that people could step in, break their leg. I mean, even if we were to run your, one of your little cats through there or something, just even it out, that'd be an improvement.
Okay.
I mean, anything.
Sure. We'll look at it.
Okay, any further discussion?
Mayor,
Yes.
to Eric, the Bumpus softball facility, is that money, does that improve paving the parking lot at Bumpus Fields, or?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we talked about the drainage improvements. We have some money in there already for some of the patching that we're going to do. Yeah. This would, I believe it does include some
does?
paving,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, page 202.
So real quick, going back to the Bumpus ball fields, if we could. So did you say it didn't include it?
I believe it includes some, but the parking lot's big enough, I don't think it would be all of it. I think it would start us in paving part of the parking lot.
Right, and I think some of this goes back to the conversation in December where we were talking about, the big thing was bathrooms in there.
Yes.
Was they needed restrooms, and then I know at the time we also discussed Newcomb getting new restrooms. Did that get done? I cannot remember if that got
They
done.
have not been replaced yet. We are working with prefabricated bathroom suppliers. We're getting quotes for that.
Okay,
Yeah.
and we've already allocated for funds for that then?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, page 202. Any questions? Hearing none, we'll go to 203. Right-of-way fund. Any questions? 204.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
So, city paving project, maybe I was thinking differently. Were we originally shooting for 25 to complete everything?
No, it's 26.
It
that
is
will be done.
26, okay. And we're still fully confident that we can get all that done?
Yep.
And then, I know it's still, was that 3 summers away technically? So we're thinking summer of 2026 is when we'll complete everything. Now, I know it's a bit of ways, so then we're gonna start, like we discussed, stocking away the 500,000 potentially per year so that we can go back and start assessing who needs repairs. Is that the plan after that?
Yeah, but I wouldn't call it stocking away. We would go in and do preemptive maintenance on roads that are mostly in good shape but have strategic spaces that we need to get on because potholes propagate potholes. So we will attack those roads before they get so bad that they have to be completely rebuilt. Yep.
And along those lines, I know it's a little bit of forward thinking, but just something we can all keep in mind. I wonder, I know the borough implemented a way for them to report problem roads so that they can start working on fixing them. Maybe it's something we need to think of so that when we do get to that time frame, we know, oh, this is where we're gonna start. Like, we already know ahead of time which one, because I know in the past we had the problem where funds were getting allotted late, and so our season for paving was really behind, and so we really only were working on half a season for paving, so.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Okay, any further discussion?
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
First I'm gonna go, woo-hoo, if you're gonna have everything paved by 26, that means my road will get paved. I'll be so happy. I can't hardly dodge from one pothole to the other right now in the gravel. The Alaska Railroad crossing improvements, I see one of them you have listed as Snyder subdivision, so that's Snyder Crossing.
Yes.
Didn't they it wasn't that many years ago that they redid that one, so what's gonna be done with that?
This is an interesting relationship with the railroad. So we have to get a permit with them every year. And because, I won't make this too belabored, we are crossing their railroad, which means we're on the hook for any repairs they have to do. So we have these open accounts with them basically. Anytime that they have to do any maintenance on Snyder Crossing, Halia, Clap, they just bill us. So this is setting that money aside so that we have a fund to pay their bills whenever they do their own maintenance for it. We have no control over it, and if we decided, like, if we were like, well, we're not paying for Snyder Crossing, then they're like, great, we'll tear it out.
I know, don't do that.
I know, but that's what's so unique, and we don't see the difference, but like DOT has the same relationship. They have all kinds of road crossings that came after the railroad went through, except for in certain places like Fairbanks, where the railroad went through later, and then the railroad gets to pay DOT. So they have this really interesting relationship. We just pay.
Okay, yeah, Snyder Crossing is one of the most interesting ones I've seen, especially in the wintertime, because it's like this, and you have to stop before the tracks, and you do this back down the Parks Highway.
It's not a good crossing.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? Okay, page 205, information technology equipment.
Madam Mayor, I think we kind of covered this one earlier, but last year, again, we only had the 104 transfer, and now we're just trying to keep up with the fact that we didn't move as much in the past. This goes in line with all the small transfers we were seeing throughout. Okay.
Page 206. Sewer fund. Any questions? Page 207. Page 208.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
the water towers, looks like we're wanting to construct 2 more. Could we just speak to where those 2 are expected to go? Just or at least a reminder, if anything.
Yeah, thank you for that question. So, one is certainly on Maney and Herman. The second one is kind of up in the air. Spruce Water Tower actually had a plan to have 2. And one would still fit up there. A second one would still fit up there. So that's a good choice to put a water tower up there. But another option is down Old Matt, kind of above Garden Terrace. We don't have any land over there, but that is another zone where we have the right pressure, and the landscape over there would allow for one. And there is some commercial land that, if developed to what we've been told they want to develop it to, would probably need a water tower. So there's a couple options to give more storage on both those areas. And so that's what the second one is. It's kind of up in the air based on what growth looks like. But definitely the first one is Maney and Herman.
Okay, any other questions? Page 209. Page 210. Page 211. Page 212. Page 213. Page 214. To 15. And 216. Okay. Let's see. That completes our budget.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I maybe missed something. Maybe I was asleep or something. That's what happens when you get old. There was one project that I was thinking about in the railroad terminal. We were gonna pave a parking lot or make an improvement. Did I miss that one? What page was that on?
I think it was just in roads paving.
Station improvements phase 2.
On 198.
198, okay.
I'm guessing that's one.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you, Cassie.
What? Oh, the phase 2 of that one. This one here. Oh, I see it. Okay. So within that project, right now, when you, for our passengers onboarding the train, are we going to do any paving along that, or are we planning on leaving that gravel as well? Because the plans that I had seen like 3 years ago, we were going to have like an extended deck or something like that.
Yes.
So what
Your question
happens
is,
then?
what will the passengers stand on the train?
Yes.
The current plan is they will be standing on concrete.
Okay. So is that part of this budget here then?
No. Phase 2 has like waiting canopies and stuff. We're gonna actually start to build that concrete waiting area loading zone this summer.
Okay.
Yeah, so you'll see some major improvements for the passenger experience at our train depot this summer. Phase 2 has like shelters and even more improvements.
So if we're gonna do this summer and the train is stopping there, that could be interesting, is what you're saying then, for getting people on and off, or how would that work?
Well, it'll work great because it's going to be so much longer than the old station. They'll just do it half and half.
I see.
So we were working very closely with the railroad. We have to have a spotter there, but it's going to be like 500 feet long, 400 feet long. So they'll just do half of it at one time, and they'll load on that other end, and then gosh, I guess I'm waiting. And we'll flop the other, so it won't impact them much.
Yeah, thank you. Pardon me.
Okay. I need a motion to exit committee of the whole.
Madam Mayor, I move that we exit committee of the whole.
Is there a second?
Second, Councilman Johnson.
It has been, the motion has been made by Councilmember Crafton and seconded by Councilmember Johnson to exit committee of the whole. We are now out of committee of the whole. We need a motion to cancel tomorrow night's meeting.
Madam Mayor, I move we cancel tomorrow, or May 23rd budget meeting.
Is there a second?
Madam Mayor, I second.
The motion's been made by Councilmember Crafton, seconded by Councilmember Velock to cancel tomorrow night's meeting. Is there objection to the motion? Hearing none, motion passes. We are on to audience comments, and there's nobody here. We'll close audience comments and bring it back to the dais. Madam Deputy Clerk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We will get tomorrow's meeting canceled, and so the next special council meeting will be on May 29th. That will be the first public hearing on the ordinance, followed by May 30th will be the second public hearing. So if you have any amendments, just get them to us as soon as you can, so we can get them to Cassie. Thank you.
Alrighty. I've lost my list. Councilmember Crafton.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I'd say 3.5 hours is pretty good. We started early, knocked it all out in one session. Was expecting 2. Appreciate y'all putting up with the questions. I think it was good discussion. I mean, this is the biggest meeting of our year because it sets the tone for the next year to come. I did just want to clarify something with the clerk real quick. For next week's meetings, just so we're all on the same page here, if we open public comment on Wednesday, I believe is the meeting, which is the 29th, nobody shows up or we only have a couple people show up, we then close the meeting basically following, and then we come back the following day. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so just so everybody understands
The
that
public
one.
hearing will be continued to the 30th.
So Wednesday could be
So-
a very short meeting essentially,
Right.
depending on how many people show up to the meeting.
Exactly.
Otherwise, thank you all for, again, being here. Looking forward to seeing you next week.
Councilmember Rubio.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, great job tonight. It's nice when we had the packet so everybody could do their homework. That was, honestly, that was great. I think it saved a lot of time. tonight, not having to have time to look over it, and so very thankful for you guys.
Councilmember Velock.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I do want to thank the administration for all your hard work. I know how much time and effort and just sweat and tears that go into a budget, and it's a great budget. You did great. Thank you, and that's it.
Councilmember Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for the hard work on this. Appreciate that. Next week, I may or may not be able to attend, depends on cell phone in Canada. So, yeah, anyway, all right, that's all I have.
Councilmember Cottle.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I want to thank all of staff and administration for all of their hard work. I appreciated having the figures, the line items and things like that ahead of time. That really helped me. I appreciate all of your patience and tolerance with a lot of my questions, for this being my first budget cycle. I didn't have some of the background that everybody else has, so thank you for explaining some things to me. I appreciate that. It'll go a lot quicker with me next time. But thank you for all your hard work. I appreciate it.
Okay. Next week, and I'm not sure what day, Senator Murkowski is sending her DC office here to visit with us. And since I'll be driving them around, they will be going to the airport, to the sewer plant, and to Richmond Hills. So when you ride with me, you ain't got no choice where you're going. So hopefully there is still some appropriations out there that we qualify for. And, you know, I can spend her money better than ours. But thank you, guys. Appreciate all the hard work. I know, Cassie, you put in hours on top of hours on top of hours. And with a new CFO, the budget process went smoother this time, I think.
Stu wasn't here.
Well, I know Stu ain't here. Last time we passed it in 32 minutes because he wasn't here. So, but anyway, thank you guys. Ted, I truly appreciate your effort. You know, so, and hopefully we will get a new city hall. And Eric, in that plan, is it Matcom on this and EMS?
We'd like to do, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That'd be cool.
Because we need a smart building.
That's cool.
You know, this one don't even have sprinklers. So, anyway. So with no further business at hand, I'm adjourning the meeting unless an objection is raised. And hearing none, the meeting is adjourned at 8:30.